check. That was all that needed to give it back to him. The tanks were full of gas, and it would have taken 15 minutes to do this. For God's sake, don't tell anybody about this. And this particular day was about mid-afternoon, lovely day. I had one thing in mind, and that was to go do the radio check, which would take 5 or 10 minutes, and then search around for an F4U to dogfight with. That's what I had in mind, because the F4U was the hottest thing in the Navy, and we certainly thought our P-38 was the hottest thing we had. At least we didn't believe it at Lockheed. So I decided, where would you find F4Us? Well, San Diego, that's all Navy. So I went down there to San Diego to do my radio check. I went down there real quick, and I was looking all over for F4Us, and if I'd have found one before I got there, I'd have probably challenged it. I didn't see an airplane. Did my radio check, and I was on the way back, and I was a beam of Oceanside, out over the ocean, when I spotted 5 airplanes in a V formation. And the closer I got, it looked like 5 F4Us. And I said, oh boy, this is going to be fun. So I came up beside the lead and waved to him, no common frequency, and I said, should we play? And he shook his head and swung away. And I did it a second time and said no. So I just went on toward Burbank, and I poured the coal and went up, and I got away from him a couple of miles, 3 miles maybe, and I thought, I'll go back and try once more. But this time, so I turned around, and they were out over the ocean, 4 or 5 miles from Oceanside. So I came down underneath them, going like a bat out of hell, and right up in front of the lead, and gone up and over and headed back for Burbank. As much as say, as I rolled out, I looked back, and all 5 of these guys were going in every direction, smoking it. The bottles were clear to the wall, and black smoke pouring out of every one of those things. So I knew I had a challenge. So I immediately poured the coal on and started to prepare to make my imaginary passes at the first logical one, which I did, and I shot him down, of course. And carved it into another one. Now I'm doing everything you can imagine. Both hands on the wheel. Throttles are wide open. And I imagined that I had got 3 of them. And then on the third one, I pulled away from it into the sun, just like that damn wing. About mid-afternoon, the sun was about like this, and all of a sudden, out of the sun came an F4U, like 100 yards apart, nose to nose. And I'll never forget the silhouette of that big, ugly, damn Corsair. Big, round engine, the old R2800, and that polished spinner, and that great, huge arc of the propeller, and those funny-looking wings. And I did not know which way to go. I just knew we were going to hit. And in just the milliseconds that the mind is working, believe it or not, it does, you know it. I saw that he was pulling, and I pushed. And as we went by, we hit. And it felt like it was hit over the left. And I looked, and my whole left wingtip was shattered. And I said, oh my God, how am I going to explain this? Well, I immediately pulled up and headed for home. And I started thinking, oh my God. When F4U comes up on my right wing, now he's yelling, what's the matter with you? He went under me, took a look at the wing, and went, boom! Well, I'm getting home. Wingtip out here is really grumpy. tell him I hit a post. And then I got to think, some damn fool will want to see the post. So I said, I'll tell him the truth. I'll tell him exactly how it happened, but I'll just turn it around 180 degrees. And I was flying peacefully home. And a gang of 5 F4Us swooped down on us. That's exactly what I did. Now I think I only told Jim. I think it was only Jim and 1 or 2 others in a close knit that we were buddies. We wouldn't tell anybody, of course. And so that's the way it stuck. This was a Friday afternoon now, and the Army commander at the base, Lockheed, representative was Colonel Shue. A lot of you know Colonel Clarence Shue, fine man. Well, he heard about it and he grounded me over the weekend and called for a court-martial Monday. It was going to be a hearing, and there would be a civilian court-martial, whatever the hell that would be. But at any rate, we're going to solve this problem. And I told everybody, of course, what I told you now, so that stood, but they had to, investigate it. So I got on the phone immediately and called every Navy base in the whole southwest area of the United States to find out if they had any F4Us in trouble. Didn't find a thing. Everything was clean. No accidents, no nothing, no reports. And in fact, I want to tell you, fellas, at that period of time, the Navy was way ahead of the Air Force, or Air Corps, on their approval of such things. The Army was against this sort of thing. They really were. And that's one reason a lot of you never got to do enough practice. On the other hand, the Navy said, oh, we encourage them to get up there and dogfight, but we tell them to do it plenty high so if you hit one another, you have room to get out. At least that's what they told me. Well, I knew then that I've got a fighting chance here, so I wrote a 1-page report and said just exactly what I did. And went that afternoon to Colonel Shue's office and sat down and we discussed this, and I gave my report. He read it and he said, well, that seems to satisfy everything, and he thanked me and had a twinkle in his eye. He knew I was telling him a lie. I can imagine. He said, oh, by the way, Mr. Hibbard, the chief engineer, would like to see you in his office. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to fire me. Well, I went to the office. It was Mr. Hibbard and Kelly Johnson. And they asked me how the hearing came, and I said, okay. And he said, well, that's not why we have you here, which of course pleased me. He said, we would like to have you go to England on a very important program that we have over there. I knew they had this problem because only a few weeks before I saw Ward Beeman off there at our airport on his way to England on this critical engine problem they had over there. And I know that the fellow from the 55th, Patterson, I really enjoyed that account of the 55th. And that was the base that was chosen for an airplane to outfit with all these fixes. And I think, Ward, you could come up and talk about that phase of it, and we'll carry on from there. And we got plenty of time here.